You want to know something? You guys got to stop doing this to me. YouTube all of a sudden just started recommending me a whole bunch of Steam Deck videos out of the blue over the past couple of days. And I'm like, you know what? I always like just taking a look at these videos just to see, I'm just interested. I just watch them. I had no interest in actually getting a Steam Deck. I was intrigued earlier on in its lifespan when it first came out, but the thing is, the intrigue quickly fell because, it just came out. It wasn't, uh, we didn't know how many of them were verified. I mean, they had, like, I didn't know. There were lists that told you which ones were verified and which ones were not. But the numbers when it first comes out are probably not going to be as many as when time progresses, as developers start catching on and help to verify for Steam Deck, and then the whole process, it takes time. So I didn't really think too much of it then. I was like, yeah, you know what, maybe I'll wait a bit before checking it out. All of a sudden, last couple of days, bunch of Steam Deck content. Over the last, I'd say the videos were released in the last year. Like, you had this retro channel, I can't remember the exact name, it has like over 1 million views on it. Watched that video, watched a couple other videos, and I'm like, you're actually starting to convince me to potentially get a Steam Deck. Because usually I don't really go for getting, consoles or handhelds lately. Probably like the last 10-15 years, haven't really touched a new console or whatnot. Like the mainline ones, like the PlayStation, the Xboxes. I don't own either of those because I have a different process or train of thought when it comes to what I spend my money on. For example, it says, hey, you have a $2,500 computer, or at least at the time when I bought it. Why don't you just get a PlayStation 4 and so you can play Bloodborne, or get a PS5 so you can play whatever game that came out on the PS5 that wasn't on PC at the time. And they just kept on saying stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't really want to, because I don't look at it as like, okay, I get that and then I can play the game. I look at it as like, well, I'm spending $500+ on the console now. Actually, back then it would have probably been cheaper with the PS4, before all the price increases on consoles. But like now it's like $500+ for a console. What do they call it? The game itself. It was like $70-$80 now. So I'm thinking, okay, why would I spend my money on that when I could buy, like, take that $500 and like $7,580 or more and buy a bunch of games on a Steam holiday or seasonal sale? Steam winter sale, Steam autumn sale, Steam spring sale, or the summer sale. So you have four big major sales every year, spread about over the course of about 3 months on average. But overall, you just have like a really, really good, deals. It's like I could get a whole bunch of games that I've been meaning to get, just so I can have it ready, so whenever the heck I want to play it. Why would I do that? Because that's a lot of games. Because the average game that I like, the price of the game that I end up buying, it's usually between $20 and $30. Either it's on sale and it gets dropped down to the $20-$30 mark, or it's like a full price indie or AA game. That's usually the average price. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's less. For example, like Age of Mythology Retold, that was one of the few games I bought the premium edition for, and I think it came out to like $55-ish, not including taxes. So yeah, I was like, I just think I could spend money on the games that I want to play. Then I started seeing those videos, and I'm like, okay, Steam Deck would be basically my Steam library. If I want, I could put some emulation stuff on there. And then I start thinking, okay, well, what are they, like, what have they been doing? Someone says, yeah, sometimes I just, want to spend time, on the, in the living room. I don't want to just game by my computer, because some of the people that, do this, also do content creation on YouTube. So they have a, where they spend a lot of time by their computers. Or if they're video editing, they got to spend a lot of time by their computers. Well, if they're also gaming by their computers, you start to feel a, you know, like something's weird, like something's off, I felt this more specifically during the that worldwide issue that we had when everyone was trapped in their homes and whatnot, and I spent a lot of time by my computer then, and I'm thinking, yeah, there were times when I would go to my bed to watch TV instead of watching it from my chair. Watching the same stuff, but just laying down on the bed and watching it versus sitting on the chair where my computer is and watching the TV. It was like a weight off my shoulders. Like, I don't know what the heck it was there, but okay. Maybe having options where you can play your games would be a good thing. And then I started thinking back when I was much younger, and I think, yeah, I didn't used to always play my games on my PS1 or my Xbox or PS2. I also had a Game Boy Advance, and I had quite a few games for that. And I would obviously play on my PS1, PS2, but then I would, take my Game Boy Advance, go sit on the couch, watch TV, lay on the floor, watch TV, go by my computer, watch YouTube, or if I'd be playing RuneScape or something like that, I would also have my Game Boy Advance there, so I'm playing my Game Boy Advance and RuneScape at the same time. And then I'm thinking, this, I think they're onto something here. And it's like, because I'm thinking, the amount of games I can play now are insane with a Steam Deck. So that means I could be on my bed, laying down, watching TV. I could be in my living room, watching TV. I could be outside in the backyard, not watching TV, playing on the Steam Deck as well. And, let's say if I, go to like a family get-together, we usually have about 4 of those a year, give or take. Sometimes it's more. I don't always go to every single one, but, they do have them. And it's like, what? That's something I could bring along. And then I look at this Steam Deck docking station. It's like, oh, okay, so for $80 extra, I could go over to, like when we go to the family get-togethers, because like my cousin, they have, they're into gaming as well. And I was like, you know what? I could bring it over there and, you could potentially do some split screen or maybe just take turns playing a game on there. Kind of like we used to when we were younger. Like when we were younger, my cousin would always come over. Like he would be the one that came over the vast majority of the time. And sometimes he would bring his PS3 over and we would play games like Oblivion, Borderlands, Lost Planet 2, and I don't know how many other games. I can't remember all of them, but those were like the 3 big ones we probably spent the most time, or at least the ones I remember most. And we played those games, and we had a lot of fun. Like for example, in Oblivion, he would get like an hour with it, playing on his character, and then I would create my character, and then I play for about an hour, and we go back and forth. And he focused on the main quest. I focused on doing the Shivering Isles DLC, and it was a lot of fun. But that wasn't the only games. Sometimes he came over and we just played my PS1 or PS2 games, and sometimes the Xbox games, and we just kept on taking turns on a lot of those games. A lot of fun that was. It was very enjoyable. So I was like, you know what? If I could bring the Steam Deck over there, I could, I was like, hey, try out some of the games that I've been trying to get you into. Like, for example, I've been trying to get him to look into getting Grim Dawn, which is an ARPG. He played games like Diablo, and was like, there's a very good chance he could end up liking this game, but I don't know exactly what it is about the ARPGs that he likes. Like right now, it's on sale for like $25. Another one would be the Age of Mythology Retold, which is also on sale for about $25. Because he was a big RTS fan. He played the Command and Conquer's, Age of Mythology, StarCraft 1. And I'm like, you know what? They did a lot of stuff in here that is very, very cool. Honestly, it's one of the better RTS games currently available. There's not many games out there that are better than, I would say, maybe StarCraft 2, and that's just because of the insane modding scene for StarCraft 2 that makes it so freaking good and still above a game like, Age of Mythology Retold. But if they keep adding the type of game modes and expanding upon the game modes, then I think they could honestly make Age of Mythology Retold as a base game a better product. It will take time, but if they're willing to stick with it, I could see it being on par or better in some aspects. So I could just say, here, try it out. I'm not sure if Age of Mythology Retold is Steam Deck verified. I know Grim Dawn, I think, is, because I see a lot of people talking about playing Grim Dawn on their Steam Deck, in the Grim Dawn subreddit. So now I'm starting to think, dang, I could play Grim Dawn while I'm on my bed, when I'm outside. Now I'm thinking also, okay, how would I keep it charged? Like, let's say if I'm going somewhere, and it's going to be more than a couple hours, just to have it. Like, I have like a battery pack for my phone. I wonder if that would work, or if you need like some kind of specific thing, it's something to look into. But honestly, I could see that device replacing a lot of my time spent on my phone. Because a lot of the times when I go to those places, it's usually I'm on my phone listening to music, or reading or browsing like Reddit. That's pretty much it. I don't use Twitter anymore whatsoever. That's pretty much it. So I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I think that would be a good possibility for me to actually get a Steam Deck. It's honestly like something that I never thought I was going to do. Or if it was going to be when they did their next version where it was going to be more powerful. From what I understand, they did upgrade it a bit. Apparently they have an OLED screen now. I'm not sure if the top tier always was an OLED or if that was just something that got added later. The battery size got expanded. Now it's a 50 watt hour battery. The premium, I would, for those wondering, if I do get it, I'm going to be under the buy nice rather than buy twice type of situation, where if I were to get it, I will not be getting the $320 version or the $549 version or the 512 gigabyte one. I'm not going to be getting the lower tiers. I would be getting the top tiers because things like 1 terabyte already in. I would be getting it because this anti-glare etched glass hopefully would be pretty good for what I'm going to be using it for. The 90 hertz is for both. That's for both. I don't know what this removable liner thing is. So you have a carrying case and carry case with removable liner. I'm not sure what the difference is. And you do get some extra stuff like the exclusive startup movie and keyboard theme. But honestly, it's mostly this, the screen, and the convenience. I don't want to really just replace the drive myself and get another one. But I also heard you're also able to get like these flash cards or SD cards or something and put it in there. And some people use that as well to store their games on. And I think they said like the size for that is like about a terabyte, give or take. The max size is like a terabyte or so. I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I will do that, and I'll get like maybe the SD card because that's easy to do, and I can put like games that I don't necessarily need, a lot of, or I don't need the SSD. That would be the aspect. So I could put that on there. So yeah, honestly, you guys are pretty much have sold me on getting a Steam Deck. Although I'm going to have to wait because I got to replace some hard drives that I have because they're starting to fail. But maybe around my birthday, I'll probably end up getting it, which would be early 2026. So that'll be nice. I do think I am gonna get it. You know, uh, I haven't looked too much into the other ones, like the Rogue Ally or whatever the heck the new Xbox uh, device is gonna be. I haven't really looked in too much into that, but I'm probably gonna stick with the Steam Deck because it has the Steam stuff already built into it. If you guys tell me what devices you use. Do you use a Steam Deck? Do you use another device? And tell me your stories about this because I am very interested in this. I really think I am going to get it because this is one of the few times where I'm thinking, because I said one of the things like how much would a $650 get me in the amount of games I could get on a Steam sale, and I'm thinking from the reverse aspect is like, well, how many games that are in my backlog that I haven't got to because I don't want to spend too much time on my computer all the time, playing games. Because think about it. Like, if I were to, say, do an Elden Ring playthrough, I heard that can play pretty well on the Steam Deck, although the battery drain is much higher because it's a more recent game. But, maybe that's a game I could play on like on by my bed, laying down, or on the couch, and I just have, like, a charger that's, charging it while I'm playing. Like, does that slow down? Does that keep it fully charged? Or does that keep it from the drainage from dropping? It's like little things like that I'm curious about as well. Like, what's your experience with that? Because if I could start going through some of my backlogs, because I have like the whole Final Fantasy collection almost. And I'm thinking, well, it would be nice to go through some of the Pixel Remaster games. It would also be nice to go through the 3D games, although I'm not sure if those are Steam verified or not. They might not be, so those might be off the table. Like Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age, I found out was Steam verified, and I'm like, okay, I'll probably go through that game on there as well. So there's just tons of games that I'm interested in going through because of, I'd be able to play it. I even did some simple math. It was like, on average, the time spent, like at night, more specifically when the sun's setting and maybe a little bit afterwards, like an hour or two afterwards, I like to spend the night sitting outside in the backyard or just, outside in general, watching the stars, feeling like the breeze change and the temperature start cooling down. I like that sunset, like, time of day a lot. So I'm thinking, well, that's probably about 1.5 to 3 hours I could spend out there. Well, let's just put it down to 2 hours. Keep it simple. And then on my bed before I go to sleep, I'm usually, awake for about an hour or so before bed. Just watching TV and winding down and relaxing. So that's probably about 3 hours a day. Well, there's 364 days in a year. So 3 hours, that would be over 1,000 hours a year extra that I could be spent playing games on just those aspects alone. I'm not even talking about the little times like where I would be on my phone, that I might replace it with the Steam Deck. And then you think over the course of 10 years, if that 3 hour thing is consistent, that means between like whenever the heck I would get it and the next decade, I would have over 10,000 hours, maybe even close to 11,000 hours, just from those little times every day, 3 hours every day, an extra 10,000 hours over the course of that. How many games would you get through in your backlog if you had those extra 10,000 hours over the course of 10 years? Let's use just RPGs, open world games, and let's average it out to about 100 hours. So that means 10 hours, or 10 games at 100 hours would be 1,000 hours, 100 games. So you would be looking at 100 1-hour game, or 100-hour games. That's kind of insane if you think about it. And if they're less, like, what if they're not that long? So you're probably looking at 100 plus games that you're going to get through in your backlog that you would not be spending playing them. That's not including your normal time, whatever free time you have potentially to play games, at your dedicated, computer or console or whatnot. So I'm just thinking, yeah, And the more I think about it, the more it makes sense for me to do this. Because now it's not just a money thing. It is a time. Time you can't get back. Money you can get more of. So over the course of the next 10 years, if I'm able to get an extra 10,000 hours and I'm more sociable because I have a handheld, you know what? It starts to be a lot more reasonable. It makes more sense for me. Like PlayStation, I would still say no. Xbox, I would still say no. I'm not interested in those. Heck, I would even say no to a Switch 2 right now as well. So between all three of those, they don't make sense because my Steam library. The main reason that makes it make sense for me is I would have my Steam library and a bunch of verified games that I already have. Because, for those who've been on Steam for a while, your library is probably not small. Bare minimum, it's probably 100 plus games. Higher end, it's probably 1,000 plus games. And if you're kind of somewhere in between, it's probably between 300 and 800. Like 300 and 800 games where you have in your library. And then there's some really high-end stuff where some people have thousands upon thousands of games, which, more power to them. That's the crazy thing that I'm just thinking about. If, let's just say, by that time, I'm at 1,000 plus games, like over the next 10 years, I get to 1,000 plus games, and I go through 100 plus games out of the library, actually probably... I'd say there's a decent amount that I could probably finish before then. I could probably finish. Like, it's only some of the games, like the open world survival games, Elden Ring and whatnot, that are like 100 hours or more. But there's a lot of games that I play, like Spyro Trilogy, the Crash Trilogy, that you can get in sub 10 hours. So it's not even close to 100 hours. So the way I see it, yeah, that'd probably be... I'd say probably closer to 150 to 200 games during that time. So you're knocking off about, let's just say, a fifth of the potential games you have. Which is also not including the time that you normally dedicate to the game. So yeah. Yeah, let me know your guys' story about, Steam Deck or other devices like the Steam Deck. Let me know, because I am very interested in this. Like I said, I probably won't pick it up until after I get I'm probably going to be looking at a couple 24 terabyte hard drives. Maybe, I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to settle on, but yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. So I'll probably get that first, and then I'll probably get a Steam Deck sometime early next year. So, and if I do get one, I'm probably not going to do a video on it right away, like a boxing or anything like that. I'll give myself time with it, probably bare minimum at least 2 to 3 months, just to get over the honeymoon phase, and then kind of let it settle and see how it kind of filters into my day-to-day life, how much extra time I'm actually getting for it, before I would make a not a response video. What would be? Not a retroactive one. Something with re that I'm thinking of, but I can't think of. Basically my time spent with it and my take on how much I'm enjoying it or not enjoying it, or what issues I might have. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.